You guys think he died from a drug overdose. You're wrong. There's a lot of y'all don't know. Y'all mad because literally I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. You guys think he died from a drug overdose. You're wrong. You're wrong. Literally. You're wrong. So suck it. Okay? Suck a lot of y'all don't know that I fucking grieve through myself while I let y'all grieve and talk mad shit on me. I don't care. I'm gonna go ahead and be what y'all want me to be, which is me. Okay? All 10K of y'all. And then like that Barbie. Yup.
That was Juice WRLD's girlfriend, Ali Lottie, dropping a major bomb, hinting that his death wasn't what the world thought it was. And now it turns out she might have been telling the truth all along. The person behind the scenes has finally been sentenced, and it changes everything we thought we knew about Juice's final moments. Ali's claims, they're now backed up in court. The sentencing no one expected has officially gone down. The man who played a key role in the drug deal that ended the life of one of this generation's most talented artists just faced a judge. But if you're expecting justice, don't hold your breath.
Oh, I think I got one.
Because Juice WRLD's assassin didn't show up with a weapon. He came packing pills in a backpack. And the punishment? Fans are calling it a total joke. It's so soft, so shocking, that Juice's own mom had to stop, take a breath, and say, this can't be it. Juice wasn't just another tragedy. He was a young star caught in a dangerous cycle, a ticking time bomb while the people who should have protected him were getting paid to keep him going until he exploded. This wasn't a random accident. This was a whole setup of glorified chaos, pushed by the same people now trying to walk away like nothing ever happened. But the fans, we're not forgetting. We're not letting this slide. Let's rewind. By now, most people know how the story ended. Private jet, surprise raid, panic, seizure, and a lifeless Juice at Chicago Midway. But that story, it's been blown wide open. Because in a now viral clip, Ali Lottie, Juice's longtime girlfriend, exposed something that flips the whole script on what we thought happened that day. She's straight up saying the story we've all been sold, that clean-cut overdose fairy tale, is a complete lie. And why would she make that claim? Because what really went down on that plane is way darker than anything the media ever dared to tell us. Let's break down the real timeline.
I'm not saying he ain't whatever pills allegedly he took or whatever that made him overdose. I ain't saying he didn't do it that himself, but the police that spooked him would not be there if niggas around him weren't putting him in situations.
December 8th, 2019. Juice WRLD, real name Jared Higgins, steps onto a private jet flying from LA to Chicago. He had just turned 21. It was supposed to be the start of something new. But that flight, it was carrying way more than just dreams. According to federal reports, the pilot tipped off authorities about guns and substances on board. And once they landed, everything spiraled. In a desperate attempt to avoid arrest, Juice allegedly swallowed multiple Percocet pills all at once, not to party, but to dodge jail time. But here's where it turns twisted. Why was he even in that kind of trap in the first place? According to DJ Academics, it wasn't all on Juice. It was the pressure, the mess, and the poor management around him, he explained. That's right, even Academics, who's never been soft-spoken, said straight up that Juice's own circle helped lead him to his death. And this circle, they weren't just industry people. They were supposed to be his friends, his crew, the ones who had his back. But instead, they let him ride loaded on a private jet. And when things got real, nobody stopped him from making that fatal move. And about those pills, the U.S. Department of Justice confirmed that Henry Dean, one of Juice's close associates, was the one who brought them on board. He's since been found guilty, but the sentence? Fans are calling it a total slap in the face. Light, lazy, and way too late. 3 years probation and a fine. That's it. Juice WRLD is gone forever. And Henry Dean is already back on the streets. Fans are livid. And who can blame them? Because this ain't just about one guy. This is about years of red flags, cries for help, and a whole team of people who looked the other way because they were making money off the chaos. Juice wasn't silent. He was begging for help during his final months. He opened up about his addiction, admitted he was struggling hard, and shared how it all started way too early, just 11 years old. And get this, he even pointed out how music, especially lyrics from Future, made popping pills sound fun and glamorous. We'll talk more about that later. But this wasn't just talk. This was real. His own mom backed it all up. She said Juice told her he wanted help. She saw a change. He was off the lean, talking about therapy, starting to feel like himself again. He was finally trying to turn things around. And then boom, it was over. And here's the part that stings the most. While Juice's body was still warm, the label was already moving behind the scenes, plotting how to keep making money off his name.
Always had issues with drugs even before you started to get famous and rich.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was something that I was into early, low-key due to music. Cause like, I was a music head, so like in 6th grade, 7th grade, I'm hearing songs about sipping lean. And that shit had me wanting to sip lean at like 11, 12 years old, bro.
Yeah.
So
DJ Academics didn't name names, but he exposed it plain as day. Instead of giving fans the truth and closure, Interscope allegedly used Juice's death as a way to boost another artist. That's not honoring someone. That's corporate necromancy. And what do the fans get? Messy, half-finished Juice WRLD tracks stitched together with features he never signed off on. A so-called deluxe album dangled like bait, but only if you stream someone else's music first. And then they have the audacity to call it a tribute? Nah, this wasn't love. It was business. And to them, Juice WRLD was just a cash cow, even in death. Now ask yourself, how many people saw this coming and stayed silent? How many watched Juice WRLD spiral out of control and did absolutely nothing? Ali Lottie said it straight. No one stepped in to help, except one woman, a total stranger. Everyone else? They stood by and watched it all crumble. Because when Juice WRLD hit the ground, he didn't just fall. He slipped right through the cracks of an industry that chews up young talent and spits them out. And unless people stop sugarcoating it and speak real on what's happening, it's just going to keep repeating. This wasn't just one wild night gone wrong. The system that was supposed to protect him, from legal safeguards to industry accountability, had been broken for a long time. The failure didn't start on that plane. It had been building for months. And the signs were everywhere. But instead of action, Juice got exploited. Instead of help, he got surrounded by people chasing a paycheck. Let's be real about what was really going down behind the scenes in the final months leading up to December 8th, 2019. This isn't just another overdose story. It's the blueprint of how an entire system failed a young man who desperately needed saving. Juice's battle with addiction wasn't new. Reports say it started back in high school, and as his fame blew up, so did the substances. Xanax, perks, lean, all of it. But here's the part nobody talks about. There were efforts to get him help. Just weeks before he died, while touring in Australia, people close to him, like his engineer Max Lord, finally stepped up.
I wouldn't say necessarily if you're lying to fans about putting out Juice WRLD's music and you're having them basically forcing them to go support the kid Leroy, that's the best thing to do. But truth be told, and I'm really trying to, I don't want to be disrespectful with this phrase, but one monkey don't stop a show. Like, Juice passed away. They running business over there. They're not about to be like, all right, let's keep crying and put Juice's stuff out. They're trying to get the next horse to, again, it's business.
They told Juice they were scared, that they didn't want to lose him. That emotional moment sparked a turning point. Juice agreed to go to rehab. The date was set, December 22nd, 2019. He was supposed to be getting help. He was supposed to be healing, but he never made it. He died 14 days earlier. Even Lil Bibby, in the head of his label, said he was shook when he found out Juice was popping 4 perks at once. That's not party. That's a cry for help. And nobody moved fast enough. Bibby tried, he really did. He pulled together an intervention and said it felt like pulling teeth just to get Juice WRLD to agree to rehab. He even got him enrolled in a program. But Juice wasn't ready to stop. He just wanted to cut back on the pills, not quit altogether.
No one helped. No one. There was one person out of all the people that were there that were able to help, not talking about the group that we were with, because they were handcuffed. So there's not much they could do. But everyone else that was there was only one person who helped me. It was a woman. I'm so grateful for her.
And that right there, that says everything. The people around him knew he was taking 4 Percocets at a time. They knew it was dangerous. They knew he needed serious help. And even after finally convincing him to go to rehab, somehow he still ended up on that jet, carrying enough substances to end his life. So how did it all fall apart? Juice's own mom saw through it. She said it loud. The people in his circle weren't protecting him. They were profiting off him. When someone's talent is making millions, their health starts to feel like an afterthought. And in Juice's case, that business-first mindset turned deadly. But it wasn't just substances and bad influences. The law was on his tail too. This was no longer just a personal addiction story. By late 2019, Juice WRLD was deep in legal trouble. In November, while flying out of LAX to Sydney, Australia, Juice and his team were stopped and searched by drug dogs and customs officers. That moment reportedly landed him on the FBI's radar. The feds were watching him, and they had been watching for months.
Just felt like his best interest wasn't being looked out for. I think people had their own agendas. I think they liked the lifestyle. And they were young too, so I have to give them that. They're young, so they don't see things the way, we would see them. But I just think that he just didn't have the people in place that just tell him to stop or no, or he just didn't have that support system in place.
So when that private jet touched down at Chicago's Midway Airport on December 8th, authorities were ready. They found a stash, 70 pounds of marijuana sealed in 41 vacuum bags, 6 bottles of codeine cough syrup, multiple guns including 2 9mm and a .40 caliber pistol, plus a high-capacity magazine with metal-piercing bullets. 70 pounds of weed. That's not for personal use. That's federal trafficking, no doubt. Under the law, that alone could carry up to 15 years. Throw in the weapons? You're looking at decades in prison. People on Reddit and across the internet started breaking it down. Many believed if Juice WRLD had been officially charged, he could have faced 40+ years behind bars. The pressure was unreal, and it was closing in fast. For a 21-year-old facing decades behind bars, that's basically a life sentence. And this is where the story turns even more heartbreaking. Because while Juice WRLD was spiraling out, while he was staring down the barrel of a possible prison stretch, and while he was trying, really trying, to get clean, the music industry was still milking every last dollar out of him. His management team wasn't clueless. They took him to doctors 20 to 30 times. They scheduled brain scans, heart scans, the whole deal. They had hard medical proof showing what the pills were doing to his body. They saw it all. And even then, they still kept pushing him to work, still had him touring, still had him trapped in the same deadly environment. Why?
Said that before his passing, he told you that he made the decision to get professional help.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Was he ready to go to rehab?
He sounded like it. And months before then, I say like in September, when I went to see him, he seemed like himself, like my baby.
Oh.
We just had such a good time hanging out. I brought him one of his favorite sandwiches from Chicago. So we were just hanging out, and he wasn't doing the lean anymore. I could tell it was a difference in him, that he wasn't doing the lean. I think he was still doing pills, but he told me he was ready to get help.
Because let's be real, dead artists don't bring in money. But neither do artists in rehab. And that's the ugly truth nobody wants to say out loud. Sure, the intervention efforts might have come from a good place, but they were too late and not strong enough. Other people around him, including his mom, Carmela Wallace, and close collaborators like Rex Kudo and 808P Bari, also tried to step in. They knew he needed help. They were trying to pull him back. But by then, the machine around him had already swallowed him whole. What's especially painful is the timing. That intervention, it happened just about a week before December 8th, 2019. A group of people who truly cared, Lil Bibby, Max Lord, Carmella, Peter Gideonwo, Rex Kudo, Bari, all got together. They had a unified plan. They agreed he needed help. Juice even said yes. And still, somehow, he ended up on that plane. The question that haunts everyone who loved him is simple. How do you go from an intervention to a funeral in just 1 week? The answer cuts deep because it sits at the core of the music business. When someone's worth millions, when their name alone sells out arenas, there's a massive, crushing pressure to keep them going. Even if it ends them. Rehab means no tours. Recovery means no studio sessions. Sobriety? That means less edgy content to sell. So instead of giving Juice WRLD the full-time, around-the-clock care he desperately needed, they handed him a compromise. Not immediate rehab, just a date on the calendar, 2 weeks out. Instead of pulling him out of the toxic scene that was draining him, they tried to manage his addiction while still keeping him working. His mom saw it. He was improving. He was showing signs of real change. He was ready to get help. But the industry couldn't afford to hit pause. The machine had to keep moving. And if that meant chewing him up to keep the profits flowing, so be it. And that wasn't the only pressure piling up. Here's a legal twist nobody really talks about. Back in October 2019, just 2 months before his death, the pop-punk band Yellowcard hit Juice WRLD with a $15 million lawsuit. They claimed his breakout hit Lucid Dreams copied elements from their song Hollywood Died. $15 million meant for a 21-year-old already drowning in addiction and staring down potential federal charges.
Shout out my friends no more. Like, I could probably count my friends on one hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people switched up. A lot of people feel entitled. I don't owe nobody shit, man. Like, they not the ones writing my raps. You know what I'm saying? I'm the creative genius behind everything that I got going on. So, like, I don't owe nobody shit.
That lawsuit was a massive blow. It wasn't just money. It was another crushing stressor when he was already on the edge. He was trying to get clean, trying to fix his life. And here comes a lawsuit that could wipe him out financially over the very song that made him famous. That kind of pressure, it could push anyone over the edge. But maybe the most telling part of this whole mess is what happened after he died. Yellowcard didn't drop the lawsuit right away. They actually moved forward against Juice's estate, even after his passing. They paused only to wait for an executor to be named. It wasn't until July 2020, months later, that they finally dropped the suit, claiming they didn't want public backlash or to upset his grieving mother. So while he was alive, stressed out, and struggling to survive, they came for the bag. But when he was gone, and the world was mourning, then they decided it wasn't such a great idea. This is the system that failed Juice WRLD, a system where money talks louder than someone's life. A system where legal pressure becomes a tool, where interventions are scheduled around tour dates instead of urgent medical needs. And the worst part? It didn't have to end like this. The warning signs were right in front of everyone. The resources were there. His loved ones were fighting for him. But the industry that made bank off his pain couldn't afford for him to truly heal. Not when there was still cash to squeeze out. And then came the chaos after his death. The conspiracy machine went full throttle. Juice WRLD, who just wanted peace and healing, suddenly became the centerpiece of wild internet theories that drowned out the real story. His death turned into content, clickbait, TikToks, viral Reddit threads. And while his family was grieving, while fans were broken, people online turned his tragedy into entertainment. But here's the thing. Not every theory was totally far-fetched, because once you start digging into the aftermath, you find a mess of sketchy moves, shady business decisions, and way too many unanswered questions. Even people who don't believe in conspiracies started raising eyebrows. Let's talk about the biggest theory out there. The idea that Juice WRLD faked his own death. Sounds wild, right? But it caught fire online, especially on TikTok and Reddit. Why? A 2017 tweet resurfaced where Juice wrote, "My goal is to get overly famous, shine for a couple years, then fake my death." That was 2 years before Lucid Dreams blew up. Fans called it a blueprint, saying Juice played it all out like a plan. Some even claimed they found flight tracker data showing a Falcon 900 jet, supposedly his, landing in the Bahamas on the same day he was reported dead, December 8th. They believed he escaped, not passed away. But let's clear the air. Official records say Juice WRLD flew from California to Chicago that day. His funeral, held on December 13th, was attended by family and close friends like Ski Mask the Slump God. Still, the fact that these theories exist at all says a lot. This all tells us something major. Fans couldn't accept the official story because it just didn't feel right. It felt hollow, like important pieces were missing. And here's where it gets even wilder. The conspiracy theories didn't just come from random people on the internet. They were being pushed by folks who were actually close to Juice WRLD. In 2021, artist Clever, someone who was in Juice's circle, dropped an album called Crazy. Now, at first glance, it's just another release. But fans noticed something strange. The first letters of each track on the album spelled out JUICEWRLDISALIVE. Was it a subtle tribute? A marketing ploy? Or something deeper? Nobody could say for sure, but it got people talking. Reddit blew up. Some users saw it as a clever homage. Others thought it was disrespectful, a way to exploit Juice's death for clout. But one thing's clear. If someone that close to Juice was putting that kind of message into their project, it raises real questions. Why feed into those theories at all unless there was more to the story? And then there's the darkest theory yet, that his label, Grade A Productions, was somehow involved in his death. A wild claim? Maybe. But some fans believe the label had motive. Juice WRLD left behind over 3,000 unreleased songs. That's a goldmine. The theory? That his death locked in their control over his catalog and profits. This idea picked up steam when Ali Lottie, Juice's girlfriend, started posting bizarre, intense videos. In one 2022 clip, she hinted that something major went down the day before he died. Her exact words: "If people knew what happened the day before Jared passed, and the day that Jared passed, and everything like that, which I cannot speak upon at this moment, but I will. I will. I just have to make sure that I am safe." Safe? That's not what you expect from someone mourning a random overdose. That's the kind of thing you say when you think you're holding on to dangerous truth. But it gets even messier. Not long after Juice WRLD died, his catalog was sold in a massive 9-figure deal. One of the biggest posthumous music catalog sales ever. The timing, the secrecy, it all added fuel to the idea that something way deeper was going on. Think about the timing. Juice WRLD dies on December 8th, 2019, and within months, his unreleased tracks are being packaged, polished, and sold. His voice? Used for collabs he never agreed to. His face? Slapped on merch he never approved. This ain't just theory anymore. This is real, documented exploitation of a young artist's legacy. And it goes beyond music. The way his posthumous releases have been handled has fans raising legit concerns. Do these albums even reflect Juice's creative vision? Or are they just money grabs in disguise, stitched together content meant to ride the wave of his name? Because when you die at 21 and leave behind thousands of unreleased tracks, who gets to decide what represents you? Who chooses what's your sound and what gets tossed? Sadly, the answer is the same people who stood by while he was spiraling, the ones who didn't stop him from crashing out. But the conspiracies don't stop with the label. There's an even darker theory, that Juice's death is part of a bigger pattern, a disturbing one. People started connecting dots between him, Lil Peep, and Mac Miller, all young, talented, battling addiction, and gone way too soon. Each one made their labels millions. Each one died under similar circumstances. So is it a grand conspiracy, or just the cold reality of an industry where profit always comes first, even over human lives? Either way, the pattern is hard to ignore. Gifted young artists, deeply vulnerable, surrounded by yes men, getting no real help, and then becoming even more valuable once they're gone. It's a cycle. And Juice WRLD might have been caught right in the middle of it. The controversy hit another level when fans uncovered a TikTok trend that popped off before his death. people faking seizures to a slowed, glitched-out version of lucid dreams. Yeah, you read that right. It was a viral challenge mocking seizures, tied to his biggest hit. That eerie coincidence made people wonder, was it just tasteless internet clout chasing or something way more twisted? Some fans saw the TikTok seizure trend as a sign, like it was prophetic or tied to some bigger conspiracy. Now let's be real, no rational person believes a TikTok meme caused Juice WRLD's seizure. The truth is clear. His seizure was the result of drug toxicity. But the fact that people were even searching for connections like that shows just how desperate fans were to find an explanation that actually made sense. Because the official story? That a 21-year-old superstar, with all the money in the world, with people who loved him, with rehab already lined up and an intervention behind him, somehow still ended up dead on an airport floor? For a lot of people who cared about him, that just doesn't add up. In those last few months, Juice WRLD was waking up. He was cutting ties with shady folks. He was realizing how the system was using him. He was trying to reclaim his life, his music, and his future. But it was already too late. And then there's a whole different kind of controversy, one that hits even harder than all the conspiracy talk. What if Juice WRLD had survived that night? What would have happened next? That question opened up a painful debate online, because what it reveals is how society weighs life against legal consequences. On social media, people were doing the math. The substances, the guns, the federal charges. Some were saying Juice could have faced 40 years behind bars. And that sparked a brutal conversation. Some fans actually began to wonder, was death his only way out? Would surviving have just meant losing everything anyway? That's the darkest part of this whole tragedy. Not just that he died, but that people feel like maybe, just maybe, he was safer gone than alive. Reddit was on fire with debates, with people dropping comments like, 70 pounds of weed and substances while flying internationally? That's guaranteed jail time. Maybe he took his own life to avoid it. And 70 pounds and guns at an airport. Yeah, he knew he wasn't walking away from that. Just sit with that for a second. We're seriously out here debating whether a 21-year-old was better off dead than facing the legal system. Whether swallowing a deadly amount of pills was the smarter option than doing time. That's how messed up the conversation got. Some users argued he could have beaten the charges with the right legal team. Others said the feds had too much evidence stacked against him. But all of it exposes a chilling truth. When the system is this broken, when young black men face decades behind bars for nonviolent drug charges, people start to ask the unthinkable. Was Juice WRLD's death a tragedy? Or was it some twisted kind of mercy? That's the question that hangs heavy. And we'll leave you to decide. If this hits you, drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear what you think really happened. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you're rocking with the story. And if you want more content that dives deep into the truth behind the headlines, go ahead and click one of the videos on your screen right now. We'll catch you in the next one. Stay sharp.